Hello and welcome to the Astrology Forecast. My name is Sage. Here is your eye into the sky, letting you know what the cosmic events are for the week, why they matter, and how you can use this information in your everyday life. Happy November. We are officially into the month of November and out of the month of October, which I'm sure a lot of people are very, very happy about, as October was eclipse season and a lot transpired during that month. Now that we're in the month of November, it is feeling like a bit of a fresh start. We might still be carrying over some of the leftover energy from the explosiveness of October, whether that was a good explosion or a not so good explosion. However, we are officially into a new vibration, especially once we hit the second week of November, which is what we'll be discussing today, the week of November 5th all the way until the 12th. So again, thank you so much for all of the support. I have been so grateful seeing all of you resharing this, commenting. Please like these videos if you do get value from them. And if you are new to the channel, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Also, I do post weekly forecasts every single Sunday. So if you want to stay up to date with that, hit the notification bell. That way you can stay up to date with all of the weekly cosmic events. So diving into the month of November, again, I am offering personal monthly forecasts if you are interested in knowing more about how all of this energy is going to affect you personally. It is not too late to schedule one of those readings. The link is down below, and I would love to chat with you and see how this energy is getting activated in your chart, aka in your life. So with that being said, let's dive into this week. We have two major cosmic events happening. The first being on Wednesday, November 8th. This is the planet Venus entering into the sign of Libra. Venus is saying hallelujah. This is a great time for Venus. Venus has been in the sign of Virgo for the last month, and during that time, Venus was a bit more challenged than she normally is. See, Venus is the planet of love and beauty and harmony, romance, everything that is creative, everything that we value, including love, but also including money. Now, Venus in Virgo was, again, not in the greatest position. Virgo is very focused on the minuscule things, on the details. It can be quite critical. It can be very analytical, very practical and logical. And while those are excellent qualities, for certain parts of who we are, such as maybe our thinking and our speech, it's not always so great when it comes to matters of love and relationship, friendship, anything that involves two people's energies coming together. Sometimes Venus in Virgo, especially that Virgo energy, can be a bit cut and dry. And so Venus was navigating that Virgo energy. I think she did a decent job, especially considering that an eclipse happened, which was being affected by Venus. So a lot was transpiring there. And again, if you want to do a proper reflection, I encourage you to look at your birth chart, see where you have Virgo. What house is Virgo in? That will give you the best idea as to how this energy was affecting you. And no, it's not always so bad, depending on where Venus shows up, even if she's not in the most strength-oriented sign for her, it doesn't mean that Venus can't still do a pretty nice job in your life. And again, knowing where you've got Virgo will help a lot. So diving into now Venus being in Libra. Venus is at home in Libra. She's literally like unlocking the door, walking in the house, and just taking off her shoes and saying, oh, it feels so good to be home. This is because Venus is the ruling planet of Libra. Libra is a cardinal air sign. It is ruled by Venus. It's represented by the two scales. Now, Venus in Libra is great because number one, she's in domicile, aka this is her home sign. Like I mentioned, this makes Venus in the most strength-oriented position she could be in. She has all of her resources that she needs to cultivate love and beauty and just garner that creativity and really bring peace to the forefront, which is really what Libra loves to do. So Venus in Libra is excellent for that. Some key words here are harmonizing, right? Venus in Libra is all about harmonizing our relationships, our partnerships, even our relationship with our finances, as again, Venus does rule over all things of value. Venus in Libra, great time for social connections. If you've been feeling maybe a little bit more lonely, maybe you haven't been feeling as connected to other people, as Venus in Virgo did give us an opportunity to maybe get more of a skeptical eye on our connections and our relationships and our life. Virgo being the ultimate sorter of the zodiac, we might have been sorting through our friendships and our relationships and deciding which ones were worthwhile and which ones were no longer of use. Now that Venus enters into Libra, it's kind of like we did all of the dirty work, right? We did all of the paperwork required to make sure that this relationship, friendship, partnership, whether this be again platonic, romantic, or even business, was it up to par? Did we check over the fine print? That is Venus and Virgo's specialty. Now that we've done that work, now that we've, dotted our I's and crossed our T's, Venus in Libra is like, enjoy it, right? Enjoy this partnership, enjoy this union. This is a great time to, again, go out on dates, feel that feminine, flirty energy. One thing that I love about Venus being in Libra is that it actually is harmonizing both the masculine energy with the feminine energy. This is because Venus is actually, of course, a feminine energy, but alternate to that is Libra, which is actually a masculine sign. I know most people are surprised when I say that because, Libra comes off as being so bubbly and so sparkly and so glam. And again, that kind of gives a lot of feminine vibes. However, Libra is actually a masculine sign. And so pretty cool to see Venus, this beautiful Venusian planet of, femininity, essentially being at home in Libra, this masculine sign that does prioritize peace and cooperation over aggression. And that is one thing to note as Venus is moving through Libra. We are working with our charm. We aren't doing as much of the anger. We aren't really instigating fights. In fact, Venus in Libra is very much opposed to any sort of anger, any sort of aggression in relationships. If there's conflict or a problem between people, Venus in Libra's go-to response is to mediate that. This is peaceful mediation. Sometimes, if that's not a possibility, this can lead to passive aggressiveness where Venus in Libra is like, we're just not going to deal with it. So that is something to be aware of. But overall, this is a great opportunity to bridge connections. If maybe, you've parted ways with somebody, maybe not by choice, you may have just, again, grown apart. Venus being in Libra is a great time to come back together. Libra is the sign of the perfect union. This is why it's represented by the scales, right? This is the sign of balance. We're here to find equality in our partnerships. And if we can find that, Venus in Libra is happy and she is singing and she is enjoying the bliss of love, which is what ultimately we're here to do, right? That's one of the highest vibrations. So Venus being in Libra is excellent for that. Now, during the time that Venus is moving through Libra, it will be conjunct the South Node, okay? This will take place exactly around Thanksgiving, all the way until the 28th when it goes exact. What this means is that Venus, being again the planet of relationships, is going to be moving across the South Node that deals with karma and anything that needs to be released. So basically, if you have any relationships or partnerships, any connections in your life that don't feel like they're harmonious, that maybe don't feel equal, maybe there's a power struggle, or maybe there's just a lot of non-harmonizing energy, like maybe we're arguing a lot, maybe this partnership doesn't feel balanced, right? We're kind of throwing away whatever is no longer serving us in terms of relationships. With that South Node, this purpose of the South Node is to release karmic baggage. It's to get rid of that which isn't going to help us elevate further, i.e. the North Node, right? The North Node is our ultimate growth and highest evolution. But in order to get there, and by the way, the North Node is currently in the sign of Aries. In order to get there, we have to release a lot of the energy of the South Node. Now, Venus will be activating the South Node energy as it moves across the South Node. Again, this will be really taking place between the 23rd and the 28th. So don't worry, I will be talking about that in depth as we approach that time. But just as an overview to Venus being in Libra, this is something to be aware of, that as we're enjoying these partnerships and as we're really feeling connected to people and like we're ready to maybe like mend any bridges that might have been burned, do keep in mind that that South Node connection happening towards the end of November might help us to either speed that process along, or it might stop us in our tracks and make us see something we hadn't seen before. And that is something that I want to make us aware of as Venus is in Libra. One of the hallmark qualities of Libra, aside from being indecisive, which, yes, if you have to decide between people in your life, this might not be the best time to do so. Everybody's going to look good when Venus is in Libra. But that's the thing to be specially aware of, to pay special attention to, is that Libra oftentimes has a habit of glazing over the surface, of maybe even telling some white lies, or making the truth sound a little bit better than it really is. Libra does, again, have to do with the lips. In fact, in Latin, Libra translates to lips, and the lips are what do the lying. They also do a lot of the flirting and the truth and a lot of other things. But when it comes to Libra being the sign of partnership, do remember that that can result in wanting to do whatever it takes to maintain that partnership. That can be great if we're here to maybe induce more feelings of love and commitment and connection. But at the same time, how far are we willing to go to create that? Are we willing to look past red flags? As this is something that's common when Venus is in Libra, we sort of get those rose colored glasses put back on, or you could say rose quartz colored glasses, if you know what I mean. And all of a sudden we're like not paying attention to the warning signs. Again, this can be both in romantic relationships, friendships, or even business partnerships. So pay special attention. Again, Venus and Virgo did a lot of the pre-work. It made sure, hopefully, that these connections were quality. But at the same time, Venus in Libra might have us, acting from kind of that enchanted, starry-eyed place, which, again, great if you know that these are the people, this is the person, this is the connection that's right for you, which many of us might already know that, right? But at the same time, pay attention that we aren't just glazing over the surface and then later coming to resent that, right? If we're doing too much people pleasing, Libra energy has a tendency to want to be there for the other person, so much so that we might neglect what we need. We might neglect ourselves in the process. And so please make sure that you're still reminding yourself to fill your own cup. And that even though we want to be of service to those that we love, we want to be there, that we'd want to also make sure that we are still maintaining our individuality, which is something that the North Node in Aries is keeping us akin to. And so, codependency. It's great to be in union with somebody. It's great to have that partnership and that connection, but don't lose sight of yourself in the process. Venus in Libra, we might find that we just get overly caught up with the romance, with that connection, with that partnership, because ultimately Libra is the sign of partnership. It's the sign of the other, right? Opposite to Aries, the sign of the self. Libra wants to be with somebody, and Venus wants to connect people. So when Venus is in Libra, its home sign, that is what we are doing. So just be aware that this is a commonality, that we might go a little bit too far on the extreme of wanting to be together so much that we neglect some stuff that we should pay attention to. But again, this is a great time. Venus will be in Libra all the way until December 4th. So enjoy this time. We're going to be connecting with loved ones perhaps during the Thanksgiving holiday. So lots of good things to look forward to as Venus is in her domicile. She's in a dignified place in the zodiac, which is excellent, being that Venus is a very positive planet already. One last point about Venus in Libra is that if you are a Libra rising, great time to do a makeover, get behind the camera, take some photos. You are way more photogenic when Venus is in your first house. And again, take note of this. This goes for all rising signs. Whenever Venus moves through your first house, do something that either, switches up your style, makes you feel more feminine or attractive. Go shopping, maybe get a makeover. Anything that's of aesthetic value, especially in terms of your appearance. All my Libra risings, take advantage. I know y'all love hearing this because this is so up your alley anyway, but really this is your time to literally shine. All right, moving into the most interesting connection that we've got going on for this month. And this is going to be Mercury entering into Sagittarius on Friday, November 10th. So Mercury's been in Scorpio now for the last couple of weeks. And if you've been feeling it, then just know that energy is dissipating. Thank goodness, right? Some of us are counting our lucky stars because Mercury in Scorpio was intense, to say the least. It was maybe a bit aggressive with that Mars energy also being co-present there. We might have found more penetrative discussions that really just zoomed right into the heart of the matter. And whether or not that was pleasant to hear, we had to hear it. And so, Venus being, or gosh, why do I keep saying Venus? Mercury being in Scorpio was a bit of an intense time, a little bit darker of a time, as we have to confront some more shadows when Mercury is in Scorpio. But now, Mercury, the planet of communication and our thoughts and our intellect, it's our mouth and it's our mind, it is entering into the sign of Sagittarius. Now, this is kind of good and kind of not so good. It does break up the heavier energy of the Scorpio energy with Mercury and Mars being together, no less. That was quite intense and powerful. Now that Mercury enters into Sagittarius, it is entering into the sign of what's called its detriment. Astrology lingo right there. It means it's in the sign opposite to the one it rules. See, understand that Mercury rules over Gemini, and Gemini is opposite of Sagittarius, meaning it's everything that Sagittarius is not. So understand that when we've got Mercury in the sign opposite to its home sign, it makes it a little bit more challenging for Mercury to do Mercury things like communication, like learning, like speaking, like talking, like even thinking. Our thinking might feel a little bit more Sagittarius-like. And again, Sagittarius is a mutable fire sign. It's ruled by Jupiter, the planet of expansion and growth and more, right? Never enough with Jupiter. And of course, Sagittarius is represented by the centaur and the archer, that bow and arrow, which is very, very specific. However, Sagittarius energy has a tendency to be a bit more scattered. It doesn't always do so well in terms of the logistics of things. And this is because Sagittarius is known for being exciting and fun-loving, right? This is the sign that we, experience during the holiday season. Sagittarius season is during Christmas time, holidays, when it's the happiest time of the year, right? The most wonderful. We're seeing the words like joy and bliss and happiness posted everywhere. We're seeing people smiling with family, right? This is the time of year when Sagittarius season is coming to life. And there's a reason why it happens then. But now Mercury being in Sagittarius, number one, is going to have us thinking about Sagittarius-like things, i.e. adventures, any sort of travel. You might be thinking more about places you want to visit. Sagittarius is also a sign known for religion, spirituality, and philosophy. So we might be kind of thinking much more broad during the time when Mercury is in Sagittarius. I would not recommend doing minuscule fact-checking type of work, editing, things like that aren't really super in alignment with the Mercury Sag energy. This is because Mercury in Gemini, its home sign, is known as the fact collector, right? That's the sign of its lower mind. And I say that not to compare the two in terms of better or worse, but the lower mind in terms of the facts, the foundation, getting all of the sources together, the information. Gemini is a very curious sign. It wants to collect a lot of tidbits of knowledge and put it all together. But then really Sagittarius is the one that kind of expands all those facts and puts them into like a larger context, right? We might know what something is, but why is it? That's Mercury in Sagittarius. And so the positive thing with Mercury in Sag is that we're thinking big, right? We're really thinking expansively. Again, this is the Jupiter ruled sign. So it's larger than life. It's like, I could do this, but I could do this 10 times better. And so this is actually a really nice thing. Now, one thing to note is that the day that Mercury enters Sagittarius on Friday the 10th, it will be forming an exact square with Saturn and Pisces. This kind of puts a bummer on that very lighthearted, bouncy energy of the Mercury in Sag, because Saturn is the planet of boundaries and restriction. It's kind of like Mercury enters Sag, and then it comes face to face with like a brick wall or a fence or something that creates a boundary, which is what Saturn does. It's the boundary to the physical eye in terms of the visible planets. And so Saturn really is that kind of final marker, right? And so it kind of creates the structure around which we can see things. And so when we have this square form on Friday, this might bring us back down to reality a little bit. It's kind of like there's still hard work to be put in, even though all of a sudden we might get this burst of like big ideas and like, yo, I could really maximize this. But now that, Saturn is involved, and it's not for very long, it's literally for like 3 days, 4 days. But during that time, it's sort of kind of starting off the Mercury and Sag note on a bit more of a solemn vibe. It's not really as excited. It's not really as fun and adventurous. It's more like, okay, but there's still work to do if I want to go on that big trip. Saturn energy reminds me that I have to plan for it. I have to budget for it. I have to find the right time to do it, and I have to put in the necessary work that is required in order to have this great experience. Sagittarius wants to accumulate as much experience as possible in order to garner more wisdom. That's the function of Sagittarius. Mercury in Sagittarius is going to want to do that, right? It's going to want to expand its thoughts and learn more about maybe higher level concepts and beliefs. You might want to study more up on what it is that you feel philosophically is truth to you. This is really what Mercury in Sagittarius is asking for us to dive into, to learn more about, to kind of explore, which is a big key word for Sag anyway, is to explore. So yes, we do have this more constricting energy that Mercury first comes up against when it enters into Sag, but by the 15th of November, right after that new moon in Scorpio, which I'll be discussing next week, by the 15th, we are into a much better place when Mercury is able to do much more of that Sagittarius-like things. This means our thinking is way more spontaneous, as Sagittarius is the first one to say yes, maybe not considering the details, which again, Mercury cringes at, which is why this sign can be a little difficult for Mercury to be in. Because Sagittarius is like, yeah, let's hop on the plane tomorrow. Oh, I have work? Okay, I'll call off. Oh, that, made it harder on everybody else? Oh, well, you know what? I'm off on an adventure. There's something amazing about that, the ability for all of us, experiencing this Mercury and Sag energy to just be like, yes, that's like that. Like I'm just going to say yes without really thinking. That can be great for, saying yes to new experiences and having new experiences. While at the same time, it can also get us into trouble if we're saying yes to the wrong things without enough forethought. So biggest piece of advice when Mercury is in Sagittarius, which by the way, it will be there all the way until December 1st, is to just give yourself a moment of second thought. Practicality might not be your strongest suit during this time, but at the same time, if we can just take a breath before we say yes, that little gap time in there, allow yourself to maybe, again, sort through some details. It might not be the easiest, but it is for your benefit, because then when we say yes, we know what we're saying yes to. But that's really, the only maybe downfall. And again, there could be some more scattered energy with Mercury and Sag. So if your thoughts feel all over the place, if you feel like you have all these great ideas, if you're feeling inspired thinking is a definite hallmark quality of Mercury being in Sagittarius. I would also recommend to look at your birth chart, note where do you have Sagittarius in your chart. Okay, if you're not sure where you have it, definitely hit the link below. You can schedule a reading with me. Birth chart reading is a great place to start. We can look at all the 12 houses, see where this is showing up for you. And if you've already had a reading with me, then again, go and still click the link below, because we can schedule a November forecast reading, which will also help you understand where Sag is showing up in your chart. But if you know it, great. Check it out and see, because this is where your mind is going to be on. If you have Sagittarius in the 4th house, that means that you're thinking a lot about your home life, your personal life, your family, right? But if you have Sagittarius in, let's say, the 2nd house, right? Maybe you are a Scorpio rising, then you're thinking a lot about your money making and your finances. So really pay attention, because Mercury is going to show up differently for all of us depending on what area of our life it's activating. Know that yes, these themes are still going to be majorly persistent and obvious, right? If you've got, Sagittarius again in the 2nd house, it's about money, but maybe you're thinking of like these grand money making ideas, these inspiring thoughts of how you can accumulate a lot more than ever before. Again, Sagittarius ruled by Jupiter, the planet of more and expansion and growth. This can be a really good thing. But at the same time, if we're being impulsive, we might say yes to the wrong thing, or maybe we're being like an impulsive spender. Again, that is simply an example for, again, like Scorpio rising. But knowing where you have Sag will help you a lot, as Mercury is a quick moving planet, but it's a personal planet. Personal planets are felt a lot more. So this energy is going to be a lot more potent for us over these next few weeks. But again, this is a really, interesting time to plan big, dream big. It might not be super logical, might not be super realistic, but don't worry, because That's why Mercury enters into Capricorn next, because we've got Sagittarius, the fire sign, all about inspiration. But as we know, fire signs are always followed up by earth signs. So that way we can put all of those magical plans and dreams and thoughts of inspiration into reality, onto paper, and actually make it happen. So there's a whole rhyme or reason behind this. And again, knowing more about your chart is going to help you. But even listening to these forecasts is going to arm you with the knowledge and awareness of what to expect, what energy is most activated right now. We are in the midst of Scorpio season still, right? We still have some time left in Scorpio season. We have planets still moving through Scorpio. So yes, we are still feeling this energy. But Mercury entering into Sagittarius does kind of switch things up. It kind of moves our thoughts into another space, which is kind of nice as it breaks up that Mercury-Mars energy, which was a bit combative. So again, I hope this information was of help for you. If it was, please go ahead, hit that like button. YouTube seems to love that. The algorithm responds super well. And we want as many people to be able to see this video as possible, so that way you can get this information and be up to date with what the cosmic energy is all about. Stay tuned, because next week I will be doing a full discussion of that new moon in Scorpio. It is a major reset to the month of November. You'll definitely want to hear more about that. So again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I love you all so much, and I will see you guys again next week.